All right, what's going on, everyone? How y'all doing tonight? It is again Thursday. When is it? Thursday? I don't know. The 14th. Actually, it's kind of confusing. I just returned home last night from Boston. I took an extended drive. I went to go see my aunt on Monday, who lives at the shore in Massachusetts. And then I was heading home on Tuesday. And then I just got tired, so I was like, I'm going to crash out here in Mystic, Connecticut. I crashed out, and then I drove home yesterday, and then I couldn't really tell what day it was. So good to see you all. Thanks for tuning in. Here we are again. It's Thursday, the 14th of April. We're here again doing coffee and cigars, straight fresh from our trip to Boston last week. If you were able to tune in with us, last week we were at the place called Stanza de Cigari, this little underground speakeasy cigar lounge in downtown Boston, or in the north end of Boston. So, we're back again, and it's good to be here. Good to see you, Brian. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Actually, I got the messages from everybody about heading to Comac, but unfortunately, I was coming down the Allentown direction. I was like, oh, I can't. I would have stopped. Had I come down through 95, I would have stopped by. But, I'm trying to time your drive to hit New York City at the right moment is sometimes difficult. So on the way up to Boston, I was able to do it. So I left around 8:30 here, and I was able to pass through the GW Bridge like around 11:30. So I was able to kind of skip through New York, but on the way back, it would have put me through New York right around 4 o'clock, and that's just major problem. So I took the Tappan Zee route, and got to see the new Tappan Zee Bridge, so that was great. And so it's good. So what are we doing today? Today we're back just doing our normal format. We've got a coffee called the Pvnisher that I picked up in Boston from George Howell Coffee. And if you're not familiar with George Howell is, in the coffee world, George Howell is kind of the legend. He's like the OG legend, and he has his own coffee shops in Boston now. They're very nice. I've only been to the old one, and many years ago. They have a new one at the Godfrey Hotel in Boston that a lot of people were like talking about. I just didn't have the time to go, and finally, when I was going to have a moment to go, they were like closing within 20 minutes. So I was like, oh man, I just don't want to. I just couldn't make it. So, the Tappan Zee isn't nice, right? And I think it brings me close to where you live, right, Rusty? Because it's what happens, I crossed the Tappan Zee, and I think I took the 378 to the 78, and then into Bethlehem, crossing the PA into Bethlehem. And then I ended up going to the Cigars International shop while I was on the way there. And this girl, Marie, that works there, kind of guided me through some new cigars. So we got a couple extra cigars to bring to the show later next month. And you can actually see it in the schedule. I've updated the schedule. So after April 23rd, I think it is, or maybe it's into May, there is a whole other list of cigars that we're adding on. And I think there'll be some interesting stuff coming up. One that I picked up was this thing called what's it called? Nica Libre. That is evidently a line that I believe that Cigars International is producing, and someone makes them for them, and they also have an Aganorsa leaf version from Aganorsa. And so I got a couple of those for the show. We'll do that in the coming weeks. So that's what we're headed to. Oh, Brian's feeling beat down. Me too, man. I actually had taken a nap around 5 o'clock and just really tired, man. I didn't really get a lot of the beds that I had, like the bed in Boston, the hotel that I stayed in was just all like uncomfortable. And that was just a weird experience at that hotel. Like they wouldn't clean the rooms for the first 2 days. They have this policy where you're supposed to like let them know that you want the room clean. And then when I let them know, the housekeeping just didn't bother. I was like, I don't, if I wanted to stay at a place where I would have to clean myself and it wouldn't be clean, I would stay at an Airbnb. But if I go to a hotel, I want them to like clean the room. That's part of the excitement, right? What's going on, George? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, I finally got home around 9 o'clock, just at 9 o'clock. I so I stayed overnight in Mystic because like as I left like the Massachusetts shore like around 3, and I figured okay I'll get home around 11. That'll be fine. Maybe midnight, maybe 1 o'clock, no big deal. But as I got through Connecticut, around 5 o'clock, I was like, suddenly I really started feeling like tired. I was like, man, I'm just feeling tired. And honestly, I really hate to stay in like places around New York or New Jersey. Like, I think it just sucks to stay around that area. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop now before I get too far down. And then I'm going to go to Mystic Pizza, right? That place where the movie from 1988. I was like, I'm a big fan of that movie. I've actually been to Mystic Pizza several times over the last couple decades. But so I went there and I got a cheap hotel room. I cashed in a little bit of a credit that I have with Hotels.com and paid $12 for a room at the Days Inn by Wyndham. Not bad. Nice enough place to stay. The bed was more comfortable than the DoubleTree that I stayed in Boston, and actually more comfortable than my aunt's place. Actually, strangely enough, my aunt, in her guest bedroom, they have these like black satin sheets with zebra pillow covers. Like, I don't know, it was kind of strange. The problem with satin sheets on this big bed is that it's very difficult. You're always sliding. Everything is sliding everywhere. So it's like, I couldn't really sleep very well. So, it was, but then I went to Tuesday night. I was at Mystic Pizza, got their Mystic Pizza, really nice. And then the next day, since it's Wednesday on the way home, I was like, you know what? I'm going to hit all of the New Haven pizza joints. Now I've been to them all, Modern, Sally's, Frank Pepe. I've been to them all at least once. Frank Pepe's I've been to many times over, just because it's always a little more convenient. But then I looked up another place, this place called Zupardi's, and I was like, okay, I'm going to time it. I'm going to get to, it's about an hour from Mystic. I'm going to get to Modern, which opens at 10:30. So Modern opens at 10:30. Frank Pepe's opens at 11. Sally's opens at 11:30. So I got to Modern at 10:30, had a pizza. I got their Italian bomb, which is supposed to be what they're known for. Had 2 slices and then left. Went over to Sally's. Of course, I got there a little bit late, maybe 10:45 or so. And then went over to Sally's, waited a few minutes outside before they opened. 11:30, I was the first person to sit down, ordered up a garden pizza, ate a couple slices, took off, went over to Pepe's, got their white clam with bacon, pounded on that, and oh yeah, absolutely. And then after that, I went over to Zupardi's in West Haven, which is not part of the trinity of New Haven pizzas, but one that's been very highly recommended. And had their white clam with sausage, and it was excellent. It was all excellent. Like, you go to some pizza joints, you're like, okay, that was good, but all of them were just excellent. If you go to any of those 4 and want to have the New Haven style experience, you will not have compromised by missing any of the others. So excellent stuff. And so had lobster roll twice. We went to my favorite joint in Boston on Friday night, a place called Belle Isle Seafood in Winthrop, which is across the bay from Logan Airport. It's a bit far from Boston, but it's well worth the drive. Fantastic, really like some tender lobster on the roll with and like plentiful. And then their chowder really is. It's a nice light creamy chowder. It's not that heavy thickness. Like we went to another place in my aunt's town called, well, it was someplace in Hull, Massachusetts, and their chowder's that really thick and goopy. I didn't really like it, and so we had the lobster roll. So definitely. And oh, you're gonna have some. Are you gonna have some for yourself, Frank? That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. You should get some. I know there's some close to you down there. I am curious to know how it compares to the original. And now I've also heard that like Sally's and Mystic, they have frozen available. So most kind of Zupardi's has frozen. So there's part of me that's curious. I was like, I wonder how it compares. Especially I might try to get like, especially the Mystic one. I think that's more of a commercialized. So now that the flavors are fresh in the mind, I was thinking maybe tomorrow I'll go see if I can find one locally and get that. And Major Pizza in Maryland is pretty good. That is good stuff. That is good stuff too. I do dig it. Yeah, I agreed with you on the white clam. The white clam is super solid. I've had that. So I had that on the way up. I stopped by Pepe's on the way to Boston. Had a half tomato, half white clam. Fantastic. And then on the way back, I had 2 white clams. I even had a couple slices of white clam this afternoon for lunch. So not bad. All right, so let's get into it. We're going to do some coffee. We've already been chatting a little bit too much. So while I was in Boston, the reason that I went to Boston, of course, was for the annual Specialty Coffee Association Expo. So it's an annual gathering of coffee people, and that was really fantastic to see industry friends that I've known for many years. And one of the things that I picked up is this from a company called Finum. And Finum, you may be familiar with them because they make these tea bags. So you take loose leaf tea and you put them in these bags. There's a little fold in them. And then you steep them. It's really a nice product, simple product. And they came out with this thing called the One Cup. And the One Cup is this one single cup brewing device that's meant to be super easy to use, super handy, super compact. Like one of the things they were talking about is that you can keep this device in your handbag. As you can see, this is pretty much the entire device. It's this sort of portafilter-ish looking thing that has a cup with a cutout here. And what you're supposed to do, from what I was looking at earlier today, is you're supposed to take these filters. Right? These are the One Cup filters, 60 to a box. And let's see, how do we open this box? There must be a way to do it. See, there's a stainless. There was a crease here, and then I was wondering, like, I was going to pull the top off, but I was like, there's a crease. There must be some reason. And now I see this thing. It says pull. You can see that it actually says pull to open in that little tiny print right there. And Rusty says, I stopped by their booth Sunday and also scored with an extra box of filters. Oh, nice. Excellent. Yeah, they were kind of to give me one. All right, so just pull on this. Pull on this. Push to open. Okay, there we go. So push to open, and then it just separates. And I'm going to pull a bag out, a filter. Okay, there we go. This is the bag. This is the filter. I did watch a little bit of a video on it on their YouTube earlier today. Uh-oh, I think I tore it. Yeah, I tore it. Get a different one. One that's not torn. So it's got... Oops. So these bags, oh, there we go. That's good. There's an opening on one end, right? There's an opening here. And then on 3 separate, of course, there's a fold and then seams on 2 sides, right? So we take this, and on this little contraption, there's little spikes, little tiny spikes that come out right here, okay? So my understanding is that we're supposed to put it over the spikes, and the spikes are supposed to hold it. Oh, I know. You because it's got this, you squeeze it. There we go. And then when it springs back, the spikes will then. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool. All right, now the spikes have grabbed the bag. It's not so even, unfortunately. The spikes have grabbed the bag, and you can put 1 tablespoon of coffee. So it says that it holds in between 7 to 10 grams. I know the directions are right here. All right, so I've got 10 grams of this coffee. This is a coffee from George Howell. Like I said, I picked it up. Well, I got it at the show. And one of the nice things is that, it's a coffee show, so people don't want to take stuff home. So sometimes you get good deals on a product like coffee. I got at least 4 pounds of this coffee. So we're putting a relatively finer grind on it. Let me grab the light here so you can kind of see what's going on. But here's the grind, right? Whoops. And there it is. So I put a relatively fine grind because they talk on the video, they talk about, or in the instructions, they talk about doing this for steeping you're going to steep it for a minute. So I put a finer grind so that we'll get faster extraction out of it. So we're going to add the coffee. This is 10 grams of coffee. Again, let's show this. How's that? By the way, how's the sound? Can you hear is the fan too loud, and can you hear me well enough? I'm trying a different microphone setting in here, so that's what I'm asking. All right, so there is the coffee, or the coffee is in the basket now. And then we're going to take our mug and we're going to kind of squash it to fit. All right, so it's kind of fitting in like this, right? This, Brian, is called the 1 cup from Finum. Well, I think I have a banner for it. Whoops. This is called the Finum 1 cup. And it's pretty nice. Well, we'll find out. Oh, you got a lot of swag? I didn't get a lot of swag. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I just don't feel like it. Okay, good. Fan is in the background. Good. Sound was fine. Only slight noise. Okay, good. Okay, perfect. ASMR effect. All right, so we've got this. I'm going to put this here. Now, the next thing you're supposed to do is add the water. I'm going to add the hot water. One. So as you can see, it's kind of dripping through. And then they just say to add. I really need a stand or something for this place. So I'm kind of adding it to the fullness of the cup. And we are, where's my timer? Oh, there it is, 19. So here we are. We've got it steeping. So it's supposed to steep a little bit, and then I guess after so many seconds, we're supposed to drain it through 3 times. I know. Show butler would be the idea. Hardy was having a fire sale. They didn't want to take anything. Oh my gosh, man! I wish I'd stopped by the Hardy. Did you get another one of Pete's brewers? Actually, I would like to borrow that brewer to make a video with Pete about it, if you don't mind. Maybe one day. All right, so we're going to do this 3 pulsings. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to let this thing drain. Drip through. So this is 10 ounces, 10 grams. If we follow our 2 grams per ounce, our brute ounce ratio, this should be a 5-ounce cup. So this will make 5 ounces. So right now we should have the right size. This cup is about 6 ounces overall. So now here we're about 5. So hopefully that will work correctly. I'm going to put that aside. I think looking at the ground coffee, I probably should have made it a little bit finer. It looks super like orangey, like amberish. All right. Let's have a taste. Should have gone to the Hario. Now, I haven't drank this coffee yet. This is the first time I'm having it, so I'm not sure what it's supposed to taste like. Now, it could be just me, influencing myself, but there is kind of an oranginess to the flavor of the coffee. It's light, it's bright. The body's not really heavy, it's very light-bodied. But it's a light and bright, like citrusy, like orange. Like orange is a dominant flavor here. I wonder what George says is the true flavor. Let's look it up on his website and see what. I have to find it, see if it's on his website. One thing about here, I'll share my screen with you guys so you can see it all. Let's see here. Los Idolos. No, nothing. All these companies with their seasonal offerings, they don't show anything about it. All right. We're not going to worry too much about that. Yeah, it does have that very tea-like look. Of course, one of the things is when you're putting a pretty powerful light on it, unless it has a lot of solubles, it's going to illuminate it. So it does have tea kind of characters. Kind of like juicy, refreshing. It's refreshing. Yeah, breakfast coffee. It could be breakfast coffee. Maybe like a Earl Grey of coffee. Something like that. All right, so now our cigar of the evening. I picked up from Raul's place at Tobacco Leaf in Jessup. Also, just a reminder, on the 15th of May at Jessup, at Tobacco Leaf, Raul is hosting a coffee and cars and cigars event from 9 to 11. So come on down to the Tobacco Leaf. I'm going to be there serving coffee. We've got the Spro pop-up is happening finally. A lot of people that know me from Spro are always asking, when are you going to make some more coffee? Well, now we're going to do it. So come down. It'll be 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. at Jessup. And this is the Montecristo Espada Signature Limited Edition Valiente. Can we see that? Can we see this? Really? I need to have more light in the front. The Valiente, right? It's $16.95, so it's on the pricey side. It's not a cheap cigar, and let's get into it. Let's get into it. So there's 3 bands, normal its position, and then 1 at the foot. I don't really know what kind of advantage additional bands brings. Maybe to prevent the foot from opening. I'm not sure. Now, I believe from what I was reading earlier today was that this cigar is a. Is it? It's. I thought I read that it is a. I don't know. It's this thing on MikeCigar.com seems to suggest that this cigar. I'll show you what I'm reading here. It seems to suggest that this cigar. Oops. Seems to suggest that this cigar. Let me get rid of that banner. Sorry. That this is they call it a grupo, or like George is saying, like a grupo maestros, which I guess means that there's Rafael Nodal and the Plasencia factory are all working together to make this. I think that's what it's saying here on this article. At least that's my understanding. I don't know. Maybe you guys have a different interpretation, or maybe I need to read better. The Elite Rolling Blending Team. Okay, great. So this should be amazing, right? Of course, Montecristo. So, George, this is made by one of the conglomerates, right? Now, one of the things that I always think of, that kind of think about, is that these conglomerate-like cigars, Altadis and like that, STG, you're always a little bit hesitant because they're always a little bit like, maybe they're a little bit more benign and like the boutiques. So, $17 is a lot of money to pay for a cigar that comes from a benign group. So, but we'll see. Plasencias are good. Okay, so Plasencias are the add-on. It is an Altadis product. So you always wonder, right? But, we're here to try new cigars, different cigars, and keep an open mind about it. Even though it is $17. All right, so I'm going to cut with the straight cut with the El Cheapo light cutter. Nice and tight on the cutting. So there's the cut. Oh, what am I doing? You can't see that. All right. There's the cut. All right, the cut's here. There we go. The cut is there. Nice. It's better. And George says the Espada project's way less corporate. Oh, good. Well, I hope that turns out well. I know it's still missing the Zyker. It's still up in the other room. Yeah, the wrapper is nice and shiny. I do agree with that. And it's smooth. It's got a smoothly like light oil silkiness to it. When you're like rubbing on it. The wrapper smells light and sweet, like sweet tobacco. Really light and sweet. Not that barnyard that we get or the manure. None of that. Just a light, sweet tobacco smell. The sweetness continues on the cold draw. All right, now time to light. Need to keep going. One thing I should note about these this Finum thing is that the filter material is compostable as well. So I'm gonna put that away. All right, there we go. So nice. So the light is smooth and this is a pretty big, like 56. Typically more than I prefer. Brian's asking about the cold draw. The cold draw was just this nice sweetness, sweet tobacco. I didn't find it to be terribly complex, but again, this one now is just smoothness. It's just smooth tobacco in a pleasant combination. Like, when you come to sell a lot of the other cigars, like the Revenge is one, there's a lot of black pepper, a lot of spice, a lot of heaviness. This is not that. This is just balanced. There's good complexity to it right now, but everything's very balanced. Fuller bodied, medium to full bodied, but round and balanced so far. George says, judging by the light, the draw is relatively easy. There's good resistance to it, like the right amount of resistance. The cigar I smoked yesterday from when I picked up at Cigars International was pretty loose, like right on the looser end of it. But this has got a nice resistance that's very pleasant. George says, I think you're experiencing the most well-aged leaf. I mean, man, it's nice. The complexity is subtle too. It's not like these other cigars where it's a lot of apparent. Like it's apparent. This is just like complex, balanced. I guess because the tobacco's aged, and it's just very harmonious. It's a very harmonious smoke. Yeah, it's not like it's definitely not hitting you. Like it's definitely smooth and balanced. I mean, that's actually starting off really, really nice. getting a little bit of unevenness. I think that's more because of the way that I lit it. And so maybe I'm pulling on it too hard. But I'm pouring on it. But I'm pulling on it pretty hard because I'm really enjoying it, actually. It's starting off really, really well. So, what are you guys all doing tonight? Where are you? What are you smoking? What are you drinking? Like always, I'm always interested to know. Are you guys outside? It's been a heck of a nice day today. I had all the doors at the roastery open and roasting coffee, and just a pretty, pretty day today. If we could have days, if summer could be like this, gosh, it'd be so pleasant to live here. Although before I came to the studio for this show, this event, it was getting a little more breezy. Temperature dropped just a little bit, so a little bit cooler. All right, don't go too fast. Okay, I'm gonna put it down for a few moments because I have to say I am quite enjoying this. All right, let's take a break. Man, I have been really, really tired. Like I said, those beds were just uncomfortable. Rusty's actually outside. Oh, fantastic. Finally, you get to smoke at the same time. Excellent. Glad to hear it. What are you smoking? And how was your trip home, Rusty? We didn't get a chance to talk the last day or so. Like, I know you had to drive back. So if you guys remember last time, on the last show when we were in Boston, Rusty was stuck at the airport in New Jersey because of weather. So he ended up driving to Boston, going home, crashing out for a couple hours, and then I think he told me he left at 4:30 to drive up to Boston, and then went straight to the show floor and did work. And I was like, oh man, that's some hardcore stuff, dude. Hardcore stuff. George is home with Rosalind, smoking tonight, but not smoking tonight. Chamomile tea with honey and lemon. Oh, nice. Nursing my palate. What, did you have some heavy duty smoking going on this last few days? George, what's going on, man? Good to see you. The Trinidad Espiritu Lancero with some crown. Oh, very nice, very nice. I finally got to hang out a little bit with George at a Tobacco Leaf the last time I was down there. That was great to hang out with you there for a bit. Yes, we definitely want to check in on that Trinidad. That's interesting. Expo was good. Glad to see everybody. Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, too bad you weren't with us on Sunday. I think on Sunday night we went to a place that I like there called Peach Farm in Chinatown. It's a Chinese joint, and we had salt and pepper fried lobster with salted fish and chicken fried rice and some chive blossoms. Just a classic meal. Beautiful stuff. And then I ended up down there with Yasmina. Yasmina came with us, and one of my friends, Dismas from Seattle. And then turns out the latte art champion of the United States, the one that just won, was there. Came down also with his crew from New York. So that was good to see them. Well, I gotta slow down, man. This is really nice. Like, I really need to be conscious. Like with cigars that I'm enjoying, I need to be conscious about how I'm smoking them, because really I just want to keep on puffing on it. And Rusty smoking the SJ 1014 by Sanj Patel. Oh, that's a cigar I'm not familiar with. Sanj Patel. I'm presuming he must be related to Rocky. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the coffee. Oh, I'm excited about the cigar. Keep forgetting about the coffee. Yeah, the nice thing about when you drive to the show is that you can go a little bit crazy with what you buy or whatever you collect, because you can just toss it in the car and drive home. Next year, when we go to Portland, we'll be flying there. So you have to be a lot more selective. And I was pretty selective. Like, I've been through many years where I would come home to the show and just have tons and tons and tons of stuff. And, like, it just gets to be a little bit crazy. Like, how much stuff do you really need? Like, oh, yeah, Coquette. That's right. So how was Coquette? And what did you have? And Sanj is just a top-notch cigar gangster. I want to try his new house stick. So does Sanj actually, when you say it's a house stick, does that mean that he has his own cigar shop and that's what he's making the cigars for? Oh, okay. Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, so this cigar, you're asking George about the coffee, that light orangey brightness. It actually goes really nicely with the cigar. Like, there's a nice cooperation here. It's lesser a contrast and more of a complementary flavor profile. Oh, yeah, for sure. I've done that. I mean, but the thing is, sometimes you're like, man, the shipping cost can be quite a bit. Like, I've got whole toddy brewers that I shipped home. And I was like, the big 5-gallon ones. I was like, oh, you're gonna give me those? All right, I'm shipping that home. Plus, like, 50 pounds of coffee. It really gets crazy. I miss my days of platinum status with United when I could have 3 check-ins. Mom RA, what's going on, Mom? How are you doing? Welcome to the show. Nice to see you. Let us know what you're smoking and what you're drinking and where you are, because I don't know where you're located, but if the weather's as nice as it is here in Maryland, are you outside? Because we that's where a lot of people are. Oh, okay, great, wonderful. Assange is in New Jersey. Okay, perfect. Yeah, Rusty was saying that he's his. I guess it's close to where Rusty lives, so so it's easy for him to grab some. I'm interested to try that. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, we're smoking the Montecristo Espada Signature Series Limited Edition, and I wasn't sure when I picked it up, like $17 for a Montecristo from Altadis. But I never tried it, so we wanted to try it, and ooh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. It's way beyond my expectation. I have done that many times. The difficult part is like you're making a scrambling to get all, like, it's, but depending on your flight is like you're scrambling to get it all done. Oh, okay, New York. Excellent, excellent. Oh, they say he's the most hated cigar shop owner. So, Rusty, you have to let us know how he treats you. Oh, the Lancero is delicious. Okay. Oh, thanks. I'm glad. I'm glad you watched. Well, finally glad you got to comment and join us here during the live and join in right now. Fantastic. And Tony's here. What's going on, Tony? Tony's smoking the VSG Robusto from Ashton, and the Diet Cherry Pepsi, of course, of course, of course. Mm. Yes, absolutely. Oh, speaking of diet soda, so yesterday, while I was in New Haven, the the big thing there with at the pizza joints is this soda company called Foxon, Foxon. So I finally got to try some of it. Root beer. I had the root beer, the cream soda, and the diet white birch. Actually, the diet white birch is quite good. I really. The other ones are good, but I like it's all sugary, so I can really feel it. So. And George Sharon saying, not a huge Lancero fan, but the Trinidad is really good. Oh yeah, that the Trinidad Espiritu. I remember that being quite nice. Okay, okay, he's cool. Sanjay's cool, or was he a jerk or was he cool? Now we have two. I have 3 sticks left. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, so your experience has been good with him, but other people have not liked him. Is that correct? Yeah, so we're rolling through the first third, and it's quite nice. Oh, okay, good, good. Okay, good, good. But maybe he doesn't. I guess the smart guy doesn't suffer fools. Sometimes you want to be. I mean, it's interesting. Like you have to like because of what I do for a living, and I do get to meet a lot of people. But speaking of which, I was I was doing a live stream on Friday or Saturday from the show floor. It's on the Instagram account, and I was at the Nuova Simonelli booth, which is a machine manufacturer, and the world barista champion, the current reigning world barista champion, Diego Campos, was there, and I'm shooting a video or a live stream with him, where I happened to walk by. I was like, dude, what's going on, man? And there was this person that was there, and she was like, hey, you did that video. And I was like, what? She's like, I saw your video. I was like, oh, very nice, very nice. Very nice person. Actually, I think you guys would dig her. She's very cool, from Houston, and she rides like one of the Gixxer Suzuki motorcycles. And it's like, whoa, you ride a motorcycle? It's pretty amazing. Okay, so Sun does not take any crap. Good, good, good. It sells at MSRP and does not mark up nice. Is Steve? I don't know. Steve, are you out there? Are you out there in Phoenix? I was actually thinking about Phoenix today because I was like, there's this trade show called the NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, and their trade show happens next week, starting on the 23rd in Las Vegas, and I got a free pass to go. I haven't decided to go now. I was actually thinking, well, I was in Vegas, and I wanted to try this Pizzeria Bianco so I could have the entire nation covered with this pizza tour. How far is it? It's like 5 hours. I was like, oh, five, that's a 10-hour round trip. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know. I don't know if I should do that. James, someone said that early on that they saw on Hoffman's feed that he was there, but I don't know anyone that saw him. So I don't know. I heard that he might have been there. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. He's very famous now, so he probably comes in, does his thing, and then takes off. He doesn't have time for the rest of us anymore. Yes, Diego is from Colombia. Um, I'm slightly hesitant to say if he is the first Colombian to win. He might not have been. He's not the first Latino from a producing country to have won. But he might be the first Colombian. I would have to go look. I'm not sure. Maybe Rusty might remember better than I do. Oh. Not the drunk hall. Actually, I don't think I've ever seen James drunk. I don't think. Maybe he has been. His old girlfriend, Annette, this Norwegian girl. Oh, she was beautiful. Super nice. Super beautiful. She looks like, she look who who she reminds me of, or who reminded me of her, was that girl that married Joffrey in Game of Thrones. That girl looks like Annette. Like when I was watching the series, I was like, oh, that looks like Annette. It's like crazy. The first Colombian, okay, yeah. Because so the first one to win, the first producing country to win was El Salvador with Alejandro Mendez in 2011. And we were in Bogota for that one. And actually, I was super excited because I was the head judge for El Salvador. And so he was the champion that they had won that championship. So, it was in essence our competitor. So we're very excited about that. And then the next, maybe he was the second one. And the Raul Rodas was in 2010, the year before, I think, in London. He was the first from Guatemala. And then Alejandro from El Salvador. Diego in 2021 from Colombia. Who else? Drunk Paul. There. That. Well, so we're rolling through this. It's getting a little bit droopy with the ash, so I'm kind of tempted to ash it. The temperature of the smoke is nice and smooth and cool. Everything is banging on this cigar. Like it's not the typical cigar that we end up having here that has super, super distinct notes or heavy body or like spiciness. Like now there's a more deeper spice building, but it wasn't like that here. Like the smooth, complex balance. And then right now maybe a little bit more with the spiciness. Like, I think we need to do some scoring. My apologies, I forgot to print out another score sheet before I came down here, so I'm going to have to just kind of write it down. And the wrapper's on the lighter side. So fragrance and the cold draw The fragrance, just this sweet tobacconess, a very mellow, very light. I would have to say that was more like a good plus, so like a 7.5. But now that we're into the flavor, like that was very good. The flavor was very good. I'm at a very good plus, 8.5, body 8.5. Okay. Like this is surprising. Like I wasn't expecting it to be this nice. Yeah. So there is a little bit of uneven burn, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the performance. And I'm wondering, like, is it because I'm pulling on it really? Am I going too hard with it? But yes, Pete lost in 2011. Pete would win 2 years later in Melbourne. All right, you're right. I think you're right. That point taken. Point taken. I think let's revise that. Let's revise that fragrance cold draw. It is. It is. I think the argument can be made there for very good. We'll bring that to 8. I'm open to your challenges. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's partially because of the brand. Like you don't. Maybe the prejudice is that you think that certain brands from certain companies, how serious could they put into their cigars? Obviously it shows that I'm mistaken and wrong. Like, yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Like, really good. Yeah, that is a concern. But look at this thing. I should do that. Let's see if we can. Let's see how much abuse it'll take. No, not that much. But it's a good time to knock it out. Now that might have been a bad move because it slightly got this last puff a little bit on the hotter side. So maybe I should take a moment to let it cool down for a second and resume. And Brian says I have an explicit bias towards Altatis. You mean against Altatis? You'll try them again. Against or towards? I don't know if I have a bias against necessarily, but there's certainly a skepticism when it comes to certain brands. Like I'm not going to the person I was talking to at Cigars International, had a good point. Like we were talking about the punch. We were talking about cigars in general, and she mentioned the punch. How punch tends to be more one note, and I thought that was a great description because on the way down, I was smoking one of the Punch Fu Manchus that I bought for the road trip. Mainly, I bought that cigar because it's a relatively inexpensive cigar, $6. So, and as I was smoking, I was thinking that as well. Like it's not really complex. It was kind of one note, and so you tend to, well, at least I tend to have a bias after a while, after all this time, about certain brands and certain companies. Like they wouldn't. that I wouldn't expect too much from them. They need to keep doing more like this. And if they could bring it down the price point lower, below $10, that would be even more amazing. Yeah, construction's been great. I think the burn overall has been very good. Like, there's a little bit of unevenness right here, but I don't think that's. I do think that's more because of the way that I'm smoking it rather than the way that it's made. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, and one of the things that I'm really why I'm why I try to find a spectrum of cigars from different places, manufacturers, is that I think that as a private cigar consumer, we tend to fall into our comfort zones. Like, it's very easy if you enjoy, let's say, like the Roma Craft cigars or the Tatuaje or any of those. My father, it's very easy to fall into that. Okay, I know that I'm going to smoke these Tatuajes or my father's. I'm going to smoke those, and that's great. And after a while, the other ones just don't have the flavor. Like, they make the Montecristos, or that Patel guy makes those cigars that are just cheap, and I'm not going to smoke them because they're no good. I think it's kind of normal for people to fall into that pattern. So when it comes to doing the cigars for the show, because we want to, I mean, the idea really is to smoke cigars from a spectrum, and a spectrum that that I wouldn't normally choose for myself. Like, I try to choose a range of cigars on both price point and brand, or brand, that I may not have reached for in a normal smoker. If it was just me smoking for myself, I would never have tried this. Like, really, I would never. Especially at $17. It's a lot of money to risk. But, I look at it from the paradigm of doing this show is that, okay, we want to have a wider spectrum. So there's more elasticity in that respect. So George says, Buenaventura steaks typically deliver more complex flavors at bargain prices, but on the whole, low cost equals simple taste. Yeah, I can understand that. But also, I think that what I've found is that just because it has a higher price tag doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get greater delivery. That's what we're trying to do, my friend. We're always trying to do that. Actually, I picked up a few cigars at Cigars International yesterday to add to our lineup. A couple of them are a little more on the pricier side. So what's coming up, if you look in the show notes down below, you'll see the entire. I just added them, so you'll see the entire roster. But there's a couple there that are on the lower price point, like those Nica Libres, were like $6. And then a little bit more pricier, like $12, was the La Riqueza, the special edition 2022. What else did we add on there? I can't recall now because I can't really see the schedule at the moment. But yeah, we're trying to make a nice selection of. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I definitely would have normally breezed by, but this is really performing very solidly. Like, now we're into the second, third. It's going very well. Like this, what's really nice about it is the smooth and complex balance. The balance, it's a smooth and balanced cigar that's really complex, but it's complex in a way that I find to be very complementary. The flavors are balanced and smooth, and they're blended. They're not like leather, bread, tobacco, or whatever the descriptive people are using, fruit. Or this is just like, in many respects, it's kind of what you would like to have. I think what you would like to find in a cigar, something complex, balanced, smooth, enjoyable, one to just sit down, kind of like what, as the cliche, the very best that Cuba has to offer is kind of like this like, you're just sitting there enjoying the complexity and the balance and the flavor of the cigar without necessarily having to sit there and think about, oh, there's a lot of black pepper. There's a lot of brown bread or brown sugar or this or that. This is just like, I'm just sitting here now and just enjoying. The La Aroma de Cuba mi Amor. Oh, yeah, that's what's coming up. Yeah, that's. I don't know what song. I mean, I was writing it down and I didn't. It's I think it has the pyramid tip robusto. Essentially, you're getting the DR approach to cigar making, but with the added benefit of some dollar Nicaraguan leaf from restaurant. Ah, okay, great. Well, it's a good one. And I think that what's interesting about this is that it's coming from, you said that it's like three different sources of knowledge are coming together with this, and I think that's really an interesting approach. Like Skip Martin has been posted recently that he has been going to the DR to work on a cigar, and part of me kind of thinks, I was like, oh, like we're so used to these individual cigar makers working on their own and making their own cigars. But to see that this is the kind of effect that can come from three masters coming together, it's really, I sound like a fanboy now. I feel like I'm gushing about it. But it's really, really nice. And the smoke extraction seems to be working well today. But I have to say that if this could be done like at $10, $12, that would be really nice, because, or maybe it's better that it's at the 17 mark. That once in an occasion cigar that you have. It's not all the time that you get it, but every blue moon you get it, and you're like, oh, this is kind of quite nice. Okay, so the reason that there's no music in the opening at the moment is because the sound system that I'm using is completely different down here. Right now, for today's performance or broadcast, I'm using a miniature shotgun mic that's actually attached to the camera, and that microphone is actually feeding audio from itself into the camera, and that combined video and audio signal runs through the HDMI cable into the computer and then out to you guys. In the other room, there's actually a separate mixing board, and the microphone that I use there is plugged into the mixing board, and that mixing board is plugged into the computer itself, feeding a separate audio. The audio is being fed separately than the video, and then the computer is syncing the two together and then transmitting it out. So just a little bit of a different approach, but what that means is that in that mixing board, there are sound pads, which have sound effects and that music track. And that's what I normally use. Now, bringing it down here, I could bring the board down. The problem is that I bring the board down, I have no interface for audio at the main computer. So I haven't done that yet. I'm actually looking at different interfaces to use up there and then bringing the mixer here. So once that can happen, then we can be a little bit more, have that return. The thing is also that like I'm still trying to figure out really how to set this up. Like sitting here in this wing back chair, um, everything is a little bit more makeshift as far as where the computer that's broadcasting the stream and everything, and like where would I put this mixer? Like there's a water, there's an induction heater for the water that's sitting on a chair, so it's a little more rickety down here. And as we progress and figure that out, then I'll be able to get that better situated, and then we'll have that return. Hopefully, maybe we'll have that return sooner than later. And George says tobacco mines that came together to make your cigar are all celebrated. Yes, yes. Yeah, cooperation's definitely turned out well. It turned out well. You know, that's an interesting point, I think. But the one thing that, at least for this show, right? So since I'm buying the cigars typically several weeks in advance, by the time I get to the actual broadcast, I really don't necessarily remember how much we spent. And I have to look at, so I keep the itemized receipt in the humidor. So when, like today, when I went to pull the cigar out, that's when I looked at the receipt and, oh, okay, $16.95. And so I wasn't, and also, like I said, you know, like there's a little more resilience as far as like price, because it's for me, to my mind, it's also like this is a one-off buy, right? I'm buying one, and I might not get it again for quite some time. So I don't know. I definitely hear what you're saying. Like if you're walking to a store and you're buying this off the shelf, like, and I think it's a double-edged sword. Like if I was to walk into the store and actually spend the $17 to smoke, I would have. I think my expectation would be pretty high. Like I'm like, especially with a brand like Montecristo, where the expectation is a little bit low. You just wouldn't expect this kind of thing. Like oh, $17, really? Like that's almost the cost of a T52 Bellicoso. Um, so I don't know. I think it'd be one of those things where I would expect that I would want it to be like super awesome. And at the time, and in that mindset, would I be concerned? You know, how much of that would play into the way that I experience the cigar? Like, oh, this better be super awesome because it's a Montecristo and it's a Montadas and they're charging me $17. So I don't know if it would. But here I come a little bit more removed from the actual purchase and the pain of paying the money for it. So I don't know, but I think there's something to be said about that. I mean, I think there's something where you would hope, you would expect there's a better experience because you're paying a higher price, but also I think there's the other side is that you're also kind of like maybe more critical at that time that you're buying it if you were smoking it personally. You know, I do too. I do too. That's always a fun time. It's like now we start as just kind of like, oh, hey, what's going on, and blah 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 blah. George says, so the job description for the Ono Show Butter LinkedIn listing should include musical skills. Ah, okay, good, good. For the butler, we'll have to get the butler to do some music as well. I like that. I like that idea. And so does Brian. Excellent, excellent. But all that said about the cigar and the price, this is definitely delivering in a really fantastic way. All right, so we're definitely getting through the second third. So time to make those second third notes. And I think we're quite consistent. So I'm saying 8.5s for flavor and for body. Actually, I think enjoyment of the cigar has increased. Like 8.5 is what we would consider very good plus, but why not excellent? Like, is there a reason why it's not excellent? It's very balanced. It's got beautiful, structure. It's got wonderful flavor. Like, honestly, there's no real reason for it not to be the 9 that I think it deserves. So, especially since the enjoyment of the crap, especially since the enjoyment of the cigar has increased since the first third. Some steaks. Yes, yes. Go get the steaks. Enjoy them. Yeah, I think it's turning out well. So, all right. Have a great one. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you being here, George. Enjoy the steaks. We'll see you next time. Ooh, steaks. I wonder what kind of steaks he got. Ribeyes? So how are all your guys' cigars turning out? Well, George is enjoying his Trinidad Espiritu Lancero. Take that band off. The nice thing, these bands are easy to take off. They can try. They can try. Let's see how our coffee is doing. Still got nice structure and brightness. That orange is a little bit more muted now that it's gotten a little bit cooler. But that brightness is a nice, not contrast, but nice complement to the cigar. It's excellent, but it seems to be defective because in the second, third. There's not enough resistance in the smoke, I imagine. So where are you guys at tonight? Are you guys at Bud's or? There's a little bit of buildup on my palate of right now, a little bit of bitterness. I wonder why. Maybe a little water will help that. Oh, excellent, excellent. So do you guys smoke in your cars? I don't normally smoke in the car. Usually I will, but like on long road trips, like the one to Boston and back, I do smoke. And there was a time when, like, I think I smoked a lot more. Like I would smoke. It used to be like I smoke one an hour. Like I think on previous trips to Boston, I've smoked upwards of 4 or 5 cigars. But this last trip, on the way up, I only did 2. So once I waited till I crossed in New Jersey, and then I smoked a Punch Kung Fu, and I smoked that all the way through New Jersey. I think I finished it by the time, before I got to New York, before I went to the bathroom at the last toll plaza, the last service area on the New Jersey Turnpike. I'd finished it. And then I drove the next hour to New Haven to get pizza. And then when I got back on the road to go to Boston, then I lit the second one. So I only smoked two on the way up. I smoked one from Boston to New Haven. And then from New Haven down, I smoked one in Connecticut. And I don't know if you've ever taken the Merritt Parkway, which is a 2-lane parkway. And like it's kind of like the Baltimore Washington Parkway, and designed like two lanes in each direction with a big forested median. But those guys in Connecticut, they're racing at like 80 miles an hour down this road, and it's craziness there. So you're banging it at 80, smoking a cigar, drinking. It's terrible. George is finishing out his Trinidad and moving on to the Cu-Avana. Oh, nice. That's a great cigar. That's a really nice one. Oh, in the old truck, yeah, the commute. Now, no. Oh, no, man. Yeah, that car is a little bit too small to be smoking in, I think. The Camacho, did I have a Camacho? No, the Camacho I had when I was the first night that I was in Boston at Stanza. On the way up, I had the Punch, Kung Fu, and then this other white label punch that I forgot the name of. I have to look at it. They were both nice, They were nice. I didn't buy anything like super, delectable because, you never know what's going to happen in the car. Although on the way back down from Boston to New Haven, I was like, oh, hell, I'm just going to have what I really enjoy. And I busted out a Revenge. That was quite nice. Okay. I mean, I like to smoke. Like if I do road trips, I'll smoke and open the windows and get the thing to blow out. Like yesterday was nice because the weather was super, super nice. So I had both front windows in the truck rolled down and the two rear windows cracked just to let some of the air flow through. And the smoke was blowing out. No, I can't say that this morning when I got in the truck, I couldn't smell anything. I did leave the truck open up. I rolled down the windows and left the truck open all day long to help it to air out more. But the smoke smell was light, but you could still smell it. I'll actually do that with rental cars. Like I'll go out and when I'm driving, if I'm doing longer trips on a rental car, like in Germany, for example, right? If I'm renting a car in Frankfurt and I'm going to go visit Delay Sully at his place in Saarbrücken, which is about a 3-hour drive from Frankfurt. Yeah, I'll smoke. I'll have a cigar or two, like on the Autobahn. Quite nice way to go. Have you checked out the Halo series yet? Oh no, I have not checked out the Halo series. Is that related to the video game Halo, or is that something completely different? I didn't really see much. I did watch one episode of. I watched last week's episode of Picard, and then I watched last week's episode of The Blacklist, and that's the only thing I've watched over the last week or so that I've been away. Normally I do watch a little bit more, but this week I just didn't. At the show, you don't really have time. You're out. I'm up early in the morning to go to different breakfasts, event industry breakfasts, and then all day at the show, all night, and then I don't typically get back. Like the other night was Saturday night. Saturday night we went out, and then we ended up at this mezcal tequila bar, and we were there till 3 in the morning. Actually, it was kind of crazy because I dropped the girls off at their hotel. I'm staying at a different hotel and I'm driving. And there's this cop following me. And I'm like, oh, shit. Luckily, he got another call and took off. But Mom says, yes, I think you're right. The punch signature, the one with the white label, that's what I think that was I think you're right. I think that was the second one that I had on the trip. The video game, okay. I have not seen that. I'm gonna have to. I'll check it out. Are you enjoying it? Can you smoke in a rental? Technically, no, that's not allowed. It's definitely not allowed. But I think that there's a way to mitigate that if you have the windows set correctly. Like in my old truck, I had this 2004 GMC. What did they call it? Like, it was like basically an S10 pickup, right? Crew cab pickup. And I had this thing figured out. The Tacoma that I have now, I don't have it figured out like this. But that GMC, right? In the wintertime, I had the vents, the heating vents worked out. Like the heating vents in the GMC, right, were really articulate. The Tacoma, not so articulate. It's really quite a frustrating thing. Like I can't articulate the heating air conditioning vents. But on that GMC, man, that thing was awesome in that respect. So what I would do is I would crank the heat, pulling it from the outside. The driver's window would be closed. The passenger front and the rear drivers would be open to a certain length. And that combination created this vortex around me, right? Like there would be this bubble of heat where I was sitting. And I mean, we're talking like in the winter was like that. And there'd be this bubble of heat, and the way that the air circulated in that cabin, it would pull the smoke out the back window. So it was brilliant, but the Tacoma is not the same. The Tacoma. Yeah, for sure. What you need to do is work out the Jean-Max plan, or how he smokes in his cars. I like that. Yeah, so the key is to make sure that you're ventilating well. So for example, let's say I have a car for a multi-day rental. Like let's say in Frankfurt. So I'll get the car, I'll drive down to Delay, I'll smoke on the way there, do my thing in Saarbrücken, come back to Frankfurt, smoke on the way back to Frankfurt. Typically, I don't leave right away, so I'll be in Frankfurt for like another day, maybe two, and I won't smoke at all. When I'm driving locally in a place, I won't smoke at all in the car because not enough time, and it's just not worth it. And that gives that time for it to air out. And because you're only smoking a little bit, comparatively, it tends to dissipate the smoke really well. So by the time that I return it, there's no real aroma left. Oh, okay. So first one, pretty interesting. Yeah, like our friend Jean-Max in his Toyota Avalon, he had this Avalon, and this is years ago now. Like I remember, he always smokes in his car. He loves to smoke. Like he's got I think a 35-minute commute from his house to his work back then. So he's always smoking cigars. But I remember the first time I got into his car, I was like, dude, what is with your car? Right? So imagine the Avalon, right, with the cloth headliner. And his Avalon did have that sunroof. So he would open the sunroof and smoke all the time. The crazy thing was that right here, like if you're in the driving position, right here to the sunroof was this black. It was black. The headliner was black. It's a gray headliner, right? Black. There's this like trail of black from all the cigars that he'd smoked. And I was like, whoa, dude. Like just aesthetically, that just bothers me. But he smoked it all the time. So yes, I think the sunroof does help with ventilation. And when I used to have an SUV that had a sunroof, and I was smoking then, and I think that worked pretty well. Like the thing is that I found that no matter how, like yesterday, the windows were open, like everything's blowing out, like I'm not really sensing much smoke in the cabin. But still, the next day, this morning, I could still smell a little bit of smokiness in the vehicle. So it's never perfect. It's only about how much you're willing to live with. And to be honest with you, I hate it. I really don't like the smoke. Like the smell of old smoke, I'm totally not into it. So that's really why I don't do it on a regular basis. Like only when I'm really on these long trips. I just need to pass some time. It's like I want to pass time. One cigar may last an hour, and that's an hour of driving that has kind of been a little bit more smooth. Plus, after you've been to 4 pizza joints in a row and had essentially 8 slices of pizza, and you're pretty full, and you need a little more digestive aid, the cigar fits the bill nicely. Of course, I had to wait until after I refueled because actually on the way up, when I was driving through Connecticut, I realized that I'm almost halfway through my cigar, and I was like, oh crap, the red light's been on for at least 10, 15 miles. I really need to buy gas, so I had to go find a gas station. And then when I got to the gas station, I pulled onto the perimeter of the gas station, got out, put the cigar down on this guardrail, then drove up to the pump, filled up, drove back over, picked up my cigar, and then headed on. Because, last thing you want to do at the beginning of your road trip is, blow up your vehicle at the gas station. Oh yeah, he didn't care at all. He was totally proud of that. That was like a badge of honor. You're like, whoa, dude, that's a lot of cigar smoking in your car. And just for me personally, aesthetically, that would drive me insane. But I must say that the open road cigar, oh yeah, that is a nice experience. I used to have a convertible when I lived in Hawaii. I had this Carmen Dia convertible, and I would smoke in that, and that was really lovely because you could smoke, and there's no residual, because there's no roof. The thing is that the cigar would burn strange. Like I remember I think it would like burn with this swirliness down the sides. It's been a long time since I've done it, so I don't recall perfectly how it turned out, but now I must say the cigar in this final third, while the flavor is still nice, it's gotten a little bit of bitterness. So it's diminished. The enjoyment of the flavor has diminished in this third now. So it's not as good. Like it was starting off really great at the first third, and then was like built up through the second and crescendoed at the end of the second or towards the end of the second, and now it's kind of diminished. Now, could it be that the cigar is still the same? Maybe my palate has become more adjusted to it. That's a possibility, but I don't think so. So anything interesting going on this weekend? There's this Filipino comedian that's relatively popular. This guy named Joe Coy that's performing at Maryland Live on Saturday. I've been thinking about going. A lot of my friends are going. They've been asking, "Are you coming? Are you going to go?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like it. I don't know if I'll be back." Actually, at one point, I didn't know if I was going to come back in time. But now that I'm back, I'm thinking, well, if there's seats, maybe I'll buy some. And I looked at the seating chart. And of course, the seating chart, the seats are all in big groups, right? And there's this one set of seats that are like, it's all like this mass, like open section. I was thinking, what if I was right in the middle of that open section? Like, if nobody else bought tickets, then I could be the solo guy, like, and all these seats around me are empty. If it's like that Saturday morning, I might buy a second seat. And George says, love smoking on the beach and at the Preakness. Oh, I've never been to Preakness. I should probably go. I just don't want to. All the crowds are always kind of irritant to me. But on the beach, yeah, beach is nice. Beach is nice. You know, in Hawaii, you can't smoke on the beach. That's completely illegal. And actually, in Hawaii now, it's like it's supposedly illegal in most places. On the beach, it's illegal. But however, if you get in the water, it's not illegal. So you couldn't smoke on the beach. That's what my friends tell me. You can't smoke on the beach. But if you get in the water, it's okay to smoke there. And Tony says outdoors always good. So who's outside today? Tony, you outside or are you just in your house? Absolutely. That's right. Brian used to go and sell cigars at the Preakness. That seemed like a nice time. Rusty wants me to go see Joe Coy. I'm thinking about it. I just don't know if I feel like it. Plus, my friends, they want to go to dinner before the show, like at 4:30. It's like 4:30. You want to go to dinner? What are we, 80? Oh, bull roast on Saturday. Easter Sunday. Yeah, I totally forgot that it's Easter. My mom just said to me, hey, Easter's on Sunday. I was like, oh. Make sure you're at your aunt's house. Oh, all right, I'll be there. That's for sure. International waters do cover a lot. What did Rusty say? Okay. Oh, Tony's in the smoking room. Yeah, what bull roast? Is that the one your dad goes to with the crazy whiskey? Yeah, a lot of events are starting back up. Yeah, so I'm trying to decide about going to Vegas. I think the flights, though, are pretty expensive. Like, domestic flights are really pricey. I looked at it like maybe a month ago, and the prices to Vegas from Baltimore were like $800. I was like, oh, I can't afford that. I thought about cashing in some miles. Oh, and that was another thing. Like, I was supposed to be. They were asking me to come to Peru to do one of their coffee championships. And just before I went to Boston, I reached out to them and said, hey, are we still on track? Or what's going on? What do you need from me? And how can I assist? And they're like, well, we're going to have to postpone. So my Peru trip just evaporated, which was a little bit disappointing. Because, it's like, I've never been to Peru. But I did get to see some friends in the industry, and it looks like they want me to come to do, hopefully, if everything goes smoothly, we might be doing the Barista Championship in Uganda in November, and maybe even get to go do El Salvador again. And then I just met one of the guys from Indonesia. It was like, yeah, we'd like you to come. I was like, I would love to come to Indonesia. I've not been there. I would love to see Indonesia. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, bull roast, last moment thing. Oh, got it. And Rusty was smoking outside, but now it got too cold. Okay. Yeah, I guess it must be getting a little bit more chilly outside. Brian says Phoenix to May. I mean, yeah, got $800. It's pricey to fly. So I'm trying to balance about how important it is to go to this NAB. So what it is, it's called NAB, National Association of Broadcasters. And it's the annual trade show for broadcast people, meaning that everyone in the broadcast industry goes to this, and it's, you know, all the latest equipment and latest happenings. And now that we're doing more YouTube videos, there is some value, I think, in attending this to see what is out there. And I've been connecting with some other YouTubers about it, and they're like, "Yeah, it's worth going." I was like, maybe I should go. So the nice thing about this show is that you can get free passes to attend and see the trade show. So I was thinking maybe just go there for a day or two. Of course, the flights are like $800. It's like, that's a hard thing to justify. The hotel rates are not too bad. There's some places you can get for under $100 a night, so that's not too bad. I was looking at that online last night. On the other side is, how do you get around? Like, car rentals are like, car rentals were like, I think $80 a day, which for Vegas is expensive. That's like three to four times than what I paid in Vegas in the past. And then if you do the Uber thing, like the Uber in Boston was like crazy expensive. Like I just was like, so for example, I don't know if I mentioned this last week on the show, but basically I was staying at this hotel about 3 miles from the convention center. Luckily, the hotel has a free shuttle to the convention center on the hour. Not terrible, but not perfectly convenient. If I drove myself and parked at the lot on the convention center, it's $25 for the whole day. And I took the shuttle to the trade center, or to the convention center one morning, and then I wanted to go back, and so I said, "Oh, what if I Ubered it?" And the Uber was $30, $28.75. I was like, "Wow, man! Uber one way would cost me more than the park at the convention center." So I don't know, man. It's like there's so many things because of COVID that just cost so much more now. That's like, it really kind of tempers the interest in traveling. But the cigar's going well. Still, there's this kind of bitterness. I would describe it as a bitterness to the cigar. And the coffee's nice. The coffee is nice. I'm going to brew some of this up in the normal way tomorrow to see comparatively how the Finitum, this one-shot brewer, compares. It's a neat idea, especially if you're in a pinch and you want to travel. Like, one of the things they talked about was that this could be placed in your bag. But do I really want to travel around in my day just to brew coffee? I don't know. So what do you guys think about the lighting in here now? How is this lighting looking? Is it nice? Do you like it? I'm always thinking about how we can tweak it more. Oh, by the way, Tony, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but you had mentioned a particular cigar to look up for the show, and when I was at Raul's last time, I asked about it, but they were out of it. So unfortunately, that would not be possible. Definitely now there's a little bit more heat on the cigar. I wonder if I'm just going a little bit too heavy on it. Maybe I'll slow down a little bit, see if that kind of mellows out the flavor, the heat. Tony says it's really good on the phone, but a little bit blurry on the big screen. You know, I wonder if that's because of the way that StreamYard processes the image. Like, I haven't really watched the playbacks very much, but I think that when the playbacks happen or when they're broadcasting it, so everything we're running is at HD, 1080p. And I think that when StreamYard broadcasts it, I think they downgrade the signal to 720. And so I think that there's I have to really look more into that. Not blurry, but just refreshing poorly. Okay. I wonder if there's something. So I'm not seeing any kind of indication that the stream strength is being interrupted, but it could be. Clear on your end, right? Okay, good. So are you guys all watching this on the phone? I know Tony mentioned he has it on the big screen as well. But how are you guys watching it? Do you normally watch it on the phone, or do you watch it on a computer, desktop, or maybe even larger screen? Tony says on the phone and projector. Okay. I'm gonna tap this out a little bit more. Here we are. Oh, and Rusty's watching on the phone. Okay. Yeah, I imagine on the phone that it's a lot better because it's more compacted onto the screen. I think that the YouTube says that majority of the people that watch YouTube are actually watching on their phone. So it's kind of like when I make the videos for the channel, it's like I'm making it on a 27-inch monitor. So I tend to watch YouTube on a monitor rather than on a phone. But I think majority of the people that watch the videos on the channel tend to watch on the phone. So I got to start being more attentive on how we portray things for a smaller screen. But I am glad that a lot of people are finding us on our new channel here on the Ono Live channel, because I was kind of worried if people would be able to make that migration. But I think it's better because this one guy who does YouTube videos about cigars as well, Jeremy Sayers, in one of his videos, maybe as long as 2 years ago now, because I've been thinking about this change. I've been thinking about this move to the new channel for a good year now, and he had mentioned that because of people and cigar content, YouTube may penalize a channel or delete a channel because of it's like promoting smoking. Oh, on a TV. Okay, great. Yeah, so I was kind of concerned. Like, I didn't want the live streams to pull down the main channel, right? But also, I think to me, there's also an aesthetic side of it. Like if you go to the Ono Coffee's channel main page and you select to view all the videos together instead of, so on the main page you'll get like the playlist listing. But if I don't really like to look at playlists on people's channels. I like to look at the actual videos that are released because they're stacked in order of release. And I just find it aesthetically like all the different live streams are kind of interspersed, and I just don't like the way it looks. So that's another reason for the move to this channel. One Grumpy Grams. Hey, how's it going, One Grumpy? So ask you about the picture. What's the story? So the picture behind me is one that I picked up at the there was a con here in Baltimore that was held every year called BronyCon, and it's a convention celebrating all things My Little Pony. And they had the last one like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And there's the fan base of My Little Ponies are called Bronies, Brony. And they announced that the last convention was going to be the very last convention ever. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot of the fan base is pretty much maligned by the public. And I was just curious to see well, what's the reality here? So I went to the last BronyCon and I hung out there for a whole day to see what it was like. And they have this big auction. They have all this My Little Pony art. And they have an auction for this art. And I saw the piece behind me and I was like, that just looks epic. So basically it's kind of like the My Little Pony version of the angel Gabriel coming down and raining destruction upon the land. So the full thing is actually all these My Little Ponies that have been massacred. And basically they're standing on a pile of dead My Little Ponies as the world burns around them. And I just thought it was an epic painting. And it's 55 inches wide. It's massive. And the reason I got it was because at the time I was planning, we were in discussions to open another location of Spro in this old army armory. And this armory space had this massive fireplace with this big wall. And I was thinking this would be epic above the mantle. So I bid on it and I got it. And then we just ended up, at the end of the day, we just couldn't find the proper ground for a lease. So we didn't go with that space. So I ended up with this painting that I bought for that space that we never used. And it's just been sitting, around. And so I thought, oh, here would be a great place to have it because I thought it'd be visually interesting. So that's why we have it. And thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you joining us tonight. So that's kind of where it came from and why it is. But it's really, I think it's epic, but also a little bit disturbing. You think of My Little Pony as this happy world, and they're just dead, they're massacred, piles upon piles of it's kind of like that battle they had in the Game of Thrones where everybody was dead and piles of bodies. It's like that. But it's an oil painting, and I think it's pretty well done. So, and since I can't afford Matisse, this I could. So we're smoking this Montecristo, the signature Espada. And it has been surprisingly good. So now that I've slowed down a little bit, the bitterness has diminished, the heat is diminished, and it's getting nice form again. So I think that I've been smoking it for this last third a little bit heavier. But we get together here every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to talk coffee and cigars. We're mainly a coffee channel, Actually, this is the Ono Live channel, but the main channel is Ono Coffee, where it's all about coffee and things related to coffee. So I was just in Boston shooting a bunch of stuff, and I think we're going to have some nice videos of that. Thank you. I did not think you would find me at any kind of PonyCon. So, well, the interesting thing is that, yeah, like there's a lot of male My Little Pony fans that are extremely maligned. Like everybody makes fun of them. But I was really interested to see, like, what's the deal here? And I'll tell you, when I went, it's mostly, there's a lot of children, a lot of young people, not terribly many adult males, right? But mostly young people. And it's really it was really a fascinating thing, because the programming for this con is essentially 24 hours. So they've got like gaming and stuff going on, even at 2, 3 in the morning. And, I've been to a lot of different types of shows, whether they were industry trade shows for motion pictures or for cigars or for especially coffee. That's my main business is coffee. So I go to a lot of coffee trade shows. And then, of course, as a fan, I've been to a lot of sci-fi cons and a couple of comic cons, right? And they're all kind of interesting. The real difference between every con that I've been to, or any kind of trade show convention I've been to, compared to the BronyCon, is that there's really a deep sense of community amongst these Brony people for their community and for the show that they love. And it's like there's really a lot of care and a lot of community amongst them. Like everybody's like happy and friendly and welcoming. And it was the first con that I ever went to where they were very much about gender identity. So they had little tags for the, whatever pronoun you choose, whatever your feelings are on that thing, put that aside. But it was just that they had this real deep sense of like community and respect for each other that I thought that was super refreshing. It was super happy kind of feeling there that was really nice to experience. And so I was glad to have been able to have gone, because it was the last one, and so that's not happening anymore. But it was really interesting to experience and see that firsthand. And Tony says, you always want to keep the pace that the cigar wants. Yeah, for sure. But for me, I always find that if I really enjoy one, I'm like sucking on harder because I want more of that flavor. I'm really enjoying the flavor. And this has been really, really tremendous. Much more than I ever expected it to be. Like, I didn't really have much expectation, being that it's an Altada cigar and Montecristo brand. You just don't really, over the years, my experience hasn't been, it's just, nice cigars, okay cigars. Nothing really to get that excited about. But this has really been quite a special. That carnage would look good on a nice dark. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, the green, it's a green wall. It's supposed to be pretty dark. So, yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's one thing we need to have more of. And I thought that was what was really special about that event. Now, the coffee event is similar, but not quite to that depth. And maybe I'm saying it's similar because, now that I've been at this coffee show for 20 years, I've been in the industry for 20 years, so I know a lot of people at the shows. So my experience is very different. But, and that's why, like, for me, it's like, I met several people this time, and this is typical when I go to this show, is that, especially if I meet people who's coming to the very first time, I always try to, if I meet them, I always try to take a little bit more time with that person, be like encouraging them to join in and like find their way, because like the Specialty Coffee Association trade show is quite large and it's quite overwhelming for the first time. I remember when I first went in 2003, I was overwhelmed. Like it was just so much to take in, so much happening that it was like, wow, man, it took a while to process. So I do try to be very welcoming and accommodating to those on their first time out, because we want them to enjoy themselves and hopefully find their own path. Like I always tell the first timers, hey, when you're here, it's going to take some time, and but if you enjoy it, hopefully you'll find your tribe, and that will be the people that you associate with throughout your career, the time that you're here. And that's been true in my experience, and I think it's true in many. Like a number of the ones that I remember meeting their first time, like several years ago, I see them now, and they've found their own tribe. They've found their own group of people within the industry that they connect with, and they hang out with, and they enjoy the industry together. And I think that's a beautiful way to be part of an industry, to be part of a community, is that you find that smaller niche in the whole that you can really connect with. Like Rusty, like with Yasmina, like I see that with her, and that this is her second show, and she's been in the industry for just a few years, and now while she'll come out and hang out with us a little bit, she has her own group of people that she hangs out with, and like gets together and goes touring around the city. And I think that's really a wonderful thing. And the kind of surprising or maybe shocking thing is that, I always tend to think of my friends and I as kind of the newcomers to the industry, even though we're the old school guys. Like we are we are the old guys at the show. So like we are now the people that when I was starting out were the old school guys, the guys that were kind of the gatekeepers. And I think it's part of our role. If we are the gatekeepers of today, it's part of our role to not to keep the gates closed, but to open them and let people come through and welcome them and let them find their, because we're getting to that point now that we've been in the industry long enough. We're established in the industry and we're known, and now the young people are the ones that are trying to forge their way. So it's time for us. It'll eventually be time for us to make way for them, That's the weird part of it. All right, so here we are. We're kind of to the end, right? Let us do a little assessment. So I think that, this last third has been appreciably diminished than the previous. So while the first third I rated as an 8.5, the second third I think it had really blossomed, and I rated it as a 9. So we're excellent. But I think definitely this last third has dropped even less than the beginning. So I'm saying it's an 8. Now the overall burn and draw has been very good, very consistent. I'm going to say 8.5. Like I don't think that it's excellent. I got hiccups now. Consistency has been very good, so I'm going to say 8.5. Overall, I'm going to say 8.5. So that's going to place us. Let me grab the calculator here and do some calculations. Ooh. Oh, Rusty sent me a message here about his haul from the show. That's an epic haul. Man, I wish I had known the Hario guys were going to be giving stuff away. I was really nearby their booth at the very end of the show. If I had known, I would have come by. All right, so we've got 84.5, which, if I recall correctly, I haven't really done this very well over the last few weeks that we moved down here to the studio, but I really have to sit down enter all this data into the spreadsheet. But I think that 84.5 will place this Montecristo Espada as the #1 rated cigar so far this year in 2022. All right, so 84.5, best cigar so far. Wow. This was definitely a surprise, the Montecristo Espada. And we're enjoying the George Howell. That's really quite nice too. All right, so that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate you spending another Thursday night here. As always, we're going to be here every Thursday night from 8 p.m. Eastern until about 10 p.m. Smoking cigars, talking coffee, and just talk about life in general. And don't forget, for the 100th episode celebration will be on July 2nd. We're going to do an epic live stream, probably a long multi-host live stream here from the studio. You'll be welcome to come down here if you want to Baltimore. We're going to have a group gathering. And so we keep that in mind. We've got a bunch of cigars coming up, and I think you're going to find the lineup to be pretty good. The lineup is down in the show notes below. It's always going to be here on the Ono Live channel. So thank you very much for tuning in. And I guess that's good. We will see you next week at the same time, same place. Have a great one.